Assalamu alaikum and welcome everybody. Today I'm really excited to welcome Mr. Shige Holland. He's a fourth generation Japanese American who grew up in the US, was inspired by his grandfather who built temples, apartments, and basketball courts for the community over there. Brother Shige became a professional Wadaiko player and co-founded Thrive in Japan, helping foreigners integrate and flourish in Japanese society. He's now a husband, father of two beautiful, cute kids, and a Muslim revert. Currently, he and his wife are building a Japanese Muslim community in Tokyo. He's also the voice behind the Muslim minority, which is a platform celebrating and preserving both Japanese culture and Islam. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kochira koso, thank you very much for having me on board. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to ask you a very general question about your background as to who you are as a person and what you've been doing lately and what kind of environment you are brought up and what led you to become Muslim.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. Your introduction was pretty on point. I was born in the US. I started playing traditional Japanese drums. Originally, I grew up in a Buddhist temple, but I struggled to find any real guidance. So I just focused on culture. And I came to Japan to connect with my roots. And yes, as I was playing professionally in Japan for a long time. And during that time, I was in very traditional Japan. So I feel like during that time, I learned Japanese very well, and the culture and the traditions and the all of the difficult honorifics that I'm sure you know. It's a very complicated honorific system, but my time in this very traditional arts world really helped me with that. And I came across Islam. I was introduced to Islam through a friend of mine who was a Syrian, immigrant to Japan who came over during the war, and I was just really impressed by his ability to face adversity with a lot of positivity, always being, grateful to God, even when his friends, he found out that his friends had died, that very morning in, for example, an attack or something. And he was still able to express gratitude to God, even in these situations. And this just really impressed me and led me to look more into the religion. And so, from that time, it was a very short time afterwards, I reverted to Islam.
MashaAllah.
And I left the Wadaiko world, but I took those lessons from language and culture, and I just started sharing that cultural information with other foreigners to try and help them thrive in Japan. And I guess that's where the name of the program came from, Thrive in Japan. So that's what I do now.
What inspired you to establish the Muslim minority as a platform?
Well, when I first reverted to Islam, I didn't really connect with the community at all for about 8 years. And I just was very private. I didn't really have any Muslim friends or anything. My wife converted to Islam much later than me. And when she finally reverted, we had been married we'd been together for almost 20 years now. So I reverted only, 10, 11 years ago. So we were already married. And anyways, she reverted much later than me. And during our first Ramadan, she was kind of upset. She told me, your Ramadan is terrible. And she showed me her social media, and it had, she showed up all these accounts of people having, iftar parties and families gathering on Eid and everyone praying together. And it was like a festival, omatsiri. And she was like, your Ramadan is just very lonely and hard. And there's no delicious food, or there's no iftar parties, there's no friends, there's no family. So next year I want to have Ramadan like this, like I see on social media, not yours. And so because of my wife, we actually became very involved with, Japanese Muslim community in a very short period of time. So, mashallah, this is just my wife's personality, I guess. Since we joined the community, I noticed that all of the cultural gaps, the problems that I had been helping foreigners with the language, with the culture, with trying to understand Japanese culture and integrate here in Japan, were not really being addressed. And there was many difficulties in the Muslim community in Japan, where many brothers were just having problems integrating. They were not, there's a lot of friction between communities and different masajid around Japan. And I just felt like there wasn't enough voices out there that was sharing information with the Muslim community, helping them to be more successful in Japan, to thrive, to just learn a bit about the Japanese culture and just, have a more, inshallah, a more successful spread of Islam in Japan. So that was really the reason that I started the channel.
Great.
I guess especially because recently there was a lot of hate speech.
Which is quite unfortunate indeed. And from your perspective, how does the Muslim minority help bridge gaps and promote mutual understanding between Muslims and the mainstream Japanese society? Is something important which I thought maybe is very important for us to highlight this issue.
Absolutely. Japan is, I think it's very unique in it's considered a high context society or a high context culture. And so what that means is that the meaning of words and the way people communicate is entirely based on the context of the situation. Very little of what a Japanese person says is actually what they mean. Usually they'll say something, but the meaning is very different. And even if you explain an idea, foreigners oftentimes will think that they understand, oh, okay, that's how Japanese people are. That's the same in my country. But in reality, okay, you might think it's the same in your country, but the level of context that I'm talking about, it's like to the extreme in Japan in some cases, where there might be a small similarity in cultures, your own home culture in Japan, and you might think that you understand, but the reality is that it just goes so much. Japan just takes it to the extreme. And that's very difficult for people to see this or understand this without actually learning about it from someone. So my hope is that I can at least put some light on this concept, just make people aware of the fact that Japan, even though maybe we think we understand, and in our minds, conceptually, we think we understand, actually, in practice, we don't understand as much as we think we do. And ultimately, if I can just help increase awareness and the overall communication ability of brothers and sisters in Japan, my hope is to indirectly help better relationships between Muslim communities and the rest of Japanese society. And I just felt like it's 2025, so YouTube, social media, that was the best way to do this. That's the hope of the channel, inshallah.
MashaAllah. How can blending Japanese traditions, of course, you are fully, well versed in Japanese traditions. You got Japanese wife and you got a rich background in the Japanese culture. So from your perspective, blending Japanese traditions with halal practices, I think it can help people live here peacefully. And what tips do you have for Muslim visitors as well as the residents like me trying halal-friendly Japanese cuisine?
Okay, so when it comes to actual traditional Japanese cuisine, I think many Muslims, many foreigners around the world don't realize that there was a 1,200-year period in Japan's history where the entire country was essentially vegetarian. They weren't allowed to eat meat. Like, you weren't supposed to eat beef, or there was no pork, you weren't allowed to kill things because of Buddhist principles. And so that's why the true traditional food, Japanese food, is basically more or less halal. It's vegetables, rice, and fish. That's it.
That's
Things
kind of
like
news to
beef.
me. That's a kind of
Yes,
news to me. That's impressive.
So things like beef and pork were introduced to Japan basically during the Meiji period, starting from 1868. And it really wasn't until the early 1900s that we started seeing farms where we were raising livestock like cattle and pigs for food. And so any Japanese food that uses pork or beef or anything, it might be Japanese, but it's not like the true traditional Japanese food. So what I would encourage anyone visiting Japan is, while, halal ramen and halal gyoza, halal yakiniku, like these type of options in recent years have really been increasing. So I definitely, encourage you to look up these restaurants and please support them. The more we support those restaurants, the more it gives incentive for other Japanese businesses to go halal as well. So, making an effort as part of almost your, in a way, indirect dawah to Japan, showing them that there's a economic need or, demand for these halal restaurants is definitely important. But at the same time, taking some time to look into the more traditional Japanese restaurants that are a little bit harder to access, but uh, basically are made of, more or less halal ingredients. There are some, of course, differences in people's comfortableness ability, with things like soy sauce and things, but these things put aside, traditional Japanese food is basically halal.
Mashallah, perfect. And Brother Shige, we, the foreigners, are living in Japan. We have been benefiting from the country in one way or the other for such a long period of time. Of course, everybody's journey here is different, but it's our job to basically to understand the Japanese culture and try to live here, try to give a positive impression of Islam and, of course, of the country where we came from. So, the Muslim minority platform, which you established some time ago, what strategies has the Muslim minority platform promoted for Japanese Muslim minority to foster harmony with mainstream society and, amid anti-Muslim rhetoric, which we have been observing at least for a few months now?
Well, as the Muslim minority is, it's still quite new. However, I do have a few projects I am working on, good intentions. There are, in fact, many communities in Japan that have done really, really good jobs at integrating. However, sometimes I feel like these stories of how a specific community or a specific masjid was successful in integrating with the community around them, sometimes these stories aren't as widely known as they should be. I know you yourself, you mentioned that you had connections to like Otsuka Masjid, which is probably one of the shining examples in Japan of, the best possible way to run or to exist as a Muslim community in Japanese society. And the brothers at Otsuka Masjid and of course the I don't know Harun-san, these type of people are I really think the leaders that as much as possible or more voice should be trying to show the rest of the world what these brothers and sisters are doing in the communities. So although my channel is in the early stages, where I'm just talking about a lot of concepts and whatnot, very shortly in the near future, I do hope to start doing more features on specific communities in Japan. I do have my eyes on Otsuka, definitely. I have my eyes on Toyama. I have my eyes on Shizuoka. I have my eyes on Sapporo. There's all these communities in Japan that have their own success stories and just really amazing things that they're doing. And I hope to, shine the spotlight a bit on some of these brothers and sisters and communities and share their strategies and their stories and what they've been doing. So inshallah, that will be something, the next step of the Muslim minority in the near future. Inshallah.
Wonderful, amazing. And do you provide your services to corporations as well, business enterprises?
Yes, yes, we do. So corporations, companies, and then also starting from next year, interestingly, we're also looking to start teaching at schools.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, companies, if they're looking for corporate training, any businesses that have international teams, any businesses that are looking to expand into Japan, or any Japanese businesses that are looking to do business overseas. There's myself on the team. I'm focused mostly on the cultural stuff, but there's the other members of the team. The founder of Uzumibi was originally with he was a hardened business veteran, and so he's really in the business aspects of how to close international deals, this kind of thing. And then we also have another person on the team who is a service expert who actually gives a lot of consultation to Michelin star restaurants, as far as Paris, France. So we're trying to cover our bases with a lot of myself kind of focused on the cultural things. We tried to cover the business aspects of it and then also cover the service industry aspects of it. So really, yeah, just depending on where people are struggling to integrate, we try to help out, where we can.
Mashallah. That's really a wonderful service, and which foreigners living in Japan need so much. But unfortunately, we don't fully realize, and we don't. Most of us don't know whether there is a service which exists to help us integrate with the larger Japanese society, and of course with the Japanese business community as well. This is something very important. Thanks so much for your
All right.
valuable time. Really appreciate it. And inshallah, I hope to
Well,
be
thank you
able to
so much
speak
for
with
having me.
you once more after the Muslim minority platform becomes much bigger than it is now. So
Inshallah, I would love it. Yeah, thank you so much for reaching out for me. It was really a pleasure. Jazakumullah khairan.